let's say you want to make a sci-fi walkway like this, or maybe you want to make a platform like this. You don't want to be modeling the floor in geometry in case you're putting this into a game, or even if you're creating a static render. You don't want to kill your computer because something like this floor could be, close to 1,000,000 vertices. So I'm going to show you a way that's going to give you something like 4 vertices, or 8 vertices, or 12. Something really simple. All right, we're going to create a normal map for the floor. Now, there are free softwares, some of them online that you can get in order to do stuff like this to make a seamless, tileable floor. But I'm going to show you a really easy way in Blender that can give you some great results. And so here we go. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to press 7 and look from the top, and Shift A, mesh plane. I'm going to create a plane, and we are going to create our normal map on top of this plane. We want a ground plane, so we're just going to leave that there. And the next thing we're going to do, so I'm going to hide that for the moment, is we're going to create the pattern. So Shift A, curve, circle. I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to select here, and I'm going to SX. I'm going to start pulling this in, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to go for something like 0.5. I'm going to select down here, SX, pull it in, and choose maybe 0.5 as well. I'm going to take these 2 vertices and SX, and I'm just going to pull them in. And basically, I'm creating like a teardrop shape. And I'm going to scale this down a bit and just look at it and decide if I'm going to like this. Maybe what I'll do is I'll scale these in the Y a little bit. Now, there's different shapes for this structure on the floor, but I'm going to go with this teardrop shape. Now I'm going to Alt-H, bring this back. So this is quite large. I'm going to make it a lot smaller, but we'll do that in a moment. All right, so this is a curve right now. Let's hide that again. And I'm going to come to the curve dialog box, and I'm going to change the resolution to something like 4, so it's not too much. And then right-click, convert to mesh. Let's go into edit mode so you can see it's made out of a number of vertices. I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to press F to make a face, E to extrude, pull it up, switch to 3. Now I want to pull it up relatively high because I want to bevel it a lot, but I have to be careful down here. I'll show you what I mean. Control B and pull. I'm going to pull quite far down, but I don't want those vertices to overlap. So I'm going to come quite far down, and then I'll roll my mouse up, and I want a lot of segments, although I don't want to go too nuts. And I also want to delete this bottom face here. All right, so I have this. I'm going to shade smooth, and if my computer can handle it, I may add Control 1 to make it a bit smoother. Now, Alt-H to bring this back. Let's take this, go into edit mode, and let's rotate Z minus 45. Maybe more than 45. Rotate Z 45. And I'm going to scale this down. And then I'm going to Shift D to duplicate this. I'm going to press G. I'm just going to do this by eye. And I'm going to rotate Z 90. G. And have it pretty much in the middle, sort of facing this edge, like that. Now we're going to have to scale this down quite a bit more. And then I'm going to start to use the array. Now, let's put on the statistics for now. We're already at 1800. All right. Let's add an array, and let's keep bumping this up. And I'm going to grab this and just move it, and I'm going to actually make it smaller. And it's going to depend on how small you make it. That's going to determine how good this is going to look. So we'll go for something like this. It's probably still too big. Let's take this and duplicate, and come down here and switch this to Y 1 and X 0. Almost 500,000 tries so far. If possible, I would like to scale this even more. just going to drag it down to the corner a bit. Let's try that. And come up here to this one. Okay. Before I go any further, I better save. And this is what I'm looking for. All right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it down so that it's just going into my floor. Something like this. Okay, down from the top. All right, we are going to use this, the plane and these objects here that I created. Here, we are over 500,000 to create a normal map. So remember this number. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, we're going to switch to matte cap, and we're going to use this matte cap. And now it's starting to look like a normal map. A couple of the things we need to do. On this main tab here, the render properties, come to the bottom under color management, switch from filmic to standard. On the output, let's switch this to 1024 by 1024. Good. And now we're going to bring a camera in. Yeah, I've got my 3D cursor right in the middle, so I'm going to go Shift A. Where's my camera? There it is. I want to look straight down, so I'm going to press Control Alt and 0. So I'm looking straight down. And on the camera, I'm going to switch the type from perspective to orthographic. And then I'm going to use this here to zoom in and out. I can scroll out a bit so I can see my box, my area. And I'm going to come here and I might hold Shift to move a little slower. I just want to come in to the edge a little bit like that. That's good enough right there. All right, we are going to take a render of this. Turn this off, turn that off, come up here to View, Viewport Render Image, click, and you have a normal map. Save it. Now you can close this, turn these back on, go back to Studio, press 0 to come out of camera mode, and what I like to do is to then take all of this stuff, I'll just hit A to select everything, and move it to a new collection, and let's call this normal map / camera. All right, I've got that, and hide it. Save. All right, here we go. We're going to bring in the first plane. Now we're doing the model. All right, so maybe we want to create a bit of a walkway. I think I'll do something like that to show you. All right, we want to create a bit of a walkway. All right, I've got that. I'm going to go into edit mode and press U, unwrap. So I've unwrapped this plane. Over to the shading tab. I am in look dev or material view. I keep saying the shading tab, shading editor, whatever. And I click new, and I'm going to call this normal map floor. And of course, I've got the principal BSDF and the material output. So, Shift A, texture image, and we are going to load that normal map. So I've loaded it here, but I want to change the color space to non-color. With this selected, I'm going to press Control T. You can see it's got UV into the mapping and into here. Grab these, I'm going to pull them down a little bit, line it up a bit with the normal here. The next thing we need is a vector normal map node. Connect the color to the color and the normal to the normal. And you start to see some magic happening. Doesn't look very good yet. All right, we're going to make some changes. First of all, I'm going to switch this all the way up to metal. And really, I don't need to mess with anything else yet because we're going to put a material on, but just so that you could see what's going on here. Like I said, it's going to depend on the lighting. So change to a different lighting just so you get a sense of what it's going to look like. And it's starting to look pretty cool. We can turn these off if we want. And you go, hey, that sort of looks like a sci-fi floor. If I do some work on materials now, and it's one face, all right? So I could take this and I can array this, and I'm going to array this like that. Actually, I'm going to array this in the Y. Now, because of the way we made this, it's not perfectly seamless, but we could do a better job with the camera, the way we zoomed in, and we may not get this. So that is one of the limitations of this method. But if you just experiment, if you unhide this and move the camera, but you can get these so close that you never even see that. Let's come back to here. Let's create something on the side so it's a little bit of a walkway, just so we can really sort of more appreciate this. So let's do this. Let's come in here and just make something that we could pretend is on the side here. Yeah, we'll just do that. And I think instead of arraying this, I'll just say, okay, we wanted it this many panels long, so I'll do it like that, and that'll be okay. Maybe instead of this, I would take this and we'll come out a little bit, and then we'll come down here like this, and move it off to the side, and let's mirror that to the other side, so we'd have it there, and we will put on a bevel. 0.01 maybe, and we're going to do another material here, but first of all, let's make a new material, call this I don't know, let's call it metal. I just want to come in here for a moment, and let's make sure that this is facing outwards, which it is. Okay, let's come in here and let's select this face here, and let's inset it a little bit. And let's make a new material here. I'm going to put hazard stripes on here. And we'll call it hazard, and I'll assign. And I'm going to unwrap that. Let's start with that piece right there. Okay, so here's what it's looking like. And actually, I'll come back and we'll do the metal first. I just want to get any material on here for the moment. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to just drag this up so it looks a little bit like metal. All right, and I'll do some other stuff on there in a moment. But we'll come in here and we'll grab this, and we will Shift A, texture, wave texture, Control T. I want to use UV, and I want to add a converter, color ramp here. Color going in, squish these around the middle, nice and tight, and change the white one to an orange or yellow or whatever color you like for your hazard stuff. Plug that in. We start to see an effect, and we'll change the rotation of the Z to -45. All right, let's go back to layout, and let's change the lighting. So it's starting to look kind of good. All right, I can see that a little bit better. Okay, so we have that. Already that's looking pretty good with the exception of the seam. Now, if you were making just a platform, with, it would look even better. But like I say, we could work on that. Maybe I will after. But we're going to put a simple material on this so that it looks like the image that I showed you earlier. And I'm going to be referring to this node tree because I don't always remember all of my settings. All right, so to create this, I've got my principal BSDF. I'm going to work on this top part first. I want a texture coordinate, a mapping node, Musgrave texture, color ramp, and this thing's going to help me change the color. All right, so let's get started on that. So it's on this material right here, and I've got that stuff down there. Okay, so let's see. I could use that. I might just bring in another one. It's a little bit easier. And we'll duplicate that. And we'll use UV, I think. All right, and we're going to go into a Musgrave texture. And I know I'm going to need a color ramp, converter color ramp. All right, let's come in here, and let's go in here. And then I'm just going to refer back. Okay, so I want the object. Yeah, so I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use object, so I have a separate one instead of using this one, which I probably could anyhow. All right, so values for the Musgrave in order to create that particular effect is 5, 16, 2, and 2. 5, 16, 2, and 2. Okay, and I believe this is going to be a sort of a darkish gray. And this one is going to be a lighter gray. And then you want to experiment with those for the effect we're going to get. So dark gray, light gray. Yeah, okay, I'll put that on right now. This is a color mix RGB. And what I did is I made this sort of a darkish color, and I dragged the color into the bottom input. And I put this on add, and just that. We'll just throw this in and see what effects we're starting to get. All right, so this is giving us a darker color here with some splotches on it. And we'll try maybe the tree. Now, really, like I said, this is going to depend on lights. So what I'd like to do right now is bring in a couple of point lights above here. So I'm just going to scatter them around and make them about maybe 80. I'm going to turn on scene lights. But before I go any further and forget, let's put on ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflection. And actually, I'm going to switch my ambient occlusion to 2, although there's not too many objects that will occlude. But all right, let's drag that here. Let's drag another one over here, and maybe make it like an orange kind of color. And I'll do another one more, maybe down here, and I'll make it like blue or something. Just, you know, we got to have some light in there. Okay, so already it looks pretty cool, and you don't really see the seams very much at this point. And again, I'm just seeing them because I did this real quick, the way I set up the camera. So you mess around, you can get it perfect. All right, cool. Let's make that a bit brighter. Yeah. Okay, look at that. And if I select it, and did I lose my statistics? You know, 66 triangles for that. Jeez. Okay, but let's go back to that and do some more work on that. So I want to check this. So I've got that at 0.15. So let's just emulate that, and then let's figure out what else we're going to do to create that sort of wet, dirty look. All right. So next up is going to be this part here. We're going to have a noise texture into a color ramp, and that's going to affect the roughness, and that's going to make a lot of difference right there. All right. So I'm going to take this Musgrave. Let's maximize this window and Shift D to duplicate it. And bring, I don't want to do it there. Shift D and pull it down, and then Shift S. I can switch it to a noise texture. Why am I having trouble? Because I'm in the wrong spot. And I'm just going to copy this down here. We're going to come out of here into there, there. And then let's look at what I want for my color ramp. Okay, I've got them close together. I've got dark gray and light gray, so I can pretty much use these colors already. I'll just start with that, and I'm going to put that into the roughness. Let's go back. And that's going to create what looks like the splotches of wetness on there. All right, and then maybe that's too much, but again, it's going to depend on the lighting, what light you choose, how that's going to look. All right, so while you're watching it, you can adjust, you can play with these to decide how wet you want your surface to look. All right. But I mean, you know, that looks pretty nice already. And let's see if there's anything else we want to do to this. You could add bump to it, but I basically got the image right here that we created, and we've got these two additional sort of limbs of the tree. I have my metallic part way up here, not all the way, and it's up to you about that. Sometimes I don't want it fully metallic. I'll drag it down a little bit, and we'll see. Let's try 0.6. It just cuts down the shine sometimes. Sometimes I prefer that, but it's up to you. And then you can put that material on here as well. This part here. So let's see if I was to grab this, just this part, okay, and Control C, come over here and Control V. Let's try putting that same stuff in the roughness of this. And in the base color of that. And it might require some tweaking. I'll bring down the metallic a bit. Normally, I probably wouldn't have that as metallic, but I would definitely want to do some tweaking of the values on this thing here. But just so it's not super shiny or whatever, so it looks a little bit like construction, whatever. And you can always take this hazard stuff here, and you could do the same kind of a thing, or you could maybe drop the roughness and increase the clear coat. You probably don't want it perfectly in perfect shape, but just to show you real quick how you could build this up. All right. So that looks pretty good as a start. Maybe we could put a post or something like that here. We could select here, and in fact I could just copy that, couldn't I? I just want a piece right here. P to break it out. I won't want that material on it, but I'll take this and I'll just get rid of that. I'll take this piece here. Let's look from the side and bring it up. And I'm going to extrude down. I need to get that. I don't know how tall I want this, but I'm going to pull it out to near the end. Push that down. Oh, it's mirrored. Oh, it's nice it inherited the mirror. All right, and then I'll take those and I'll Shift Control B and pull. And I just want maybe 5. I'm going to convert that to a curve. In the curve dialog box under geometry and bevel, I'll pull down Shift so I don't move too quick. Make a bit of a bar. And let's see. Move that into position a bit better. Oops. And maybe down. And let's, material wise, okay, we got nothing. Okay, let's just make a new one. Drop it down. Maybe I already made one for metal, I don't know. Yeah, I probably did. Let's do that. All right, I mean, obviously you want to probably dirty that up, but what I was thinking you could also do is you could take those and take those. No, you know what? Let's take these ones. Shift D, P to break it out. Then you have that piece there. Come in, you can scale that in the Y. I don't know how big. I just want something in there, and then you can play with the size, and you can fill caps, and you can have another material on here. Maybe not the metal. Gotta go back in there. You can have a new one which is black. Let's say that, you know, and you've got one of those things there. And I don't have it on the other side yet, do I? Okay, we'll do that in a minute. And you can come in here and you could grab these and you can do the same thing. Shift D and P to break it out. You have that elbow piece and just increase the size, put on fill caps, and then choose that same black. Oh geez, I don't know which one it was anymore. Let's pretend it was that one. And you can still edit that. just to finish finish it up in the. I don't have these. All right, we'll just throw in. I'll just do it this way, and it's probably best to array this, but because I didn't do it that way, I'm just going to take these faces right here. Okay, I can move them if I want to. I'm going to put a different material on there. So I got metal on this. I've got the hazard, and I want one more new. I should name these, but I'm not going to right now. This is going to be an emission, and it's going to be kind of a yellowish color. Make it like 15, and a sign. Okay, depending on what you're going for. So there we have our floor. We have our hazard stripes on there, some emission and some bars, really quickly and easily. And I think it looks pretty nice. So with some more time, you can get a really good effect on that. Okay, so experiment with that floor and experiment with different shapes, whether it's circles or squares, stuff like that. Maybe put bolt on each of these so that if it doesn't tile perfectly, it will look like separate panels that are supposed to be there. Or like I say, put another piece right across there, another thin piece of metal. All right, so there you go. Hope that's helpful, useful, interesting. Thanks for watching.